Good morning. Good morning and happy Mother's Day. Today is Sunday, May 14th. I doubt I'm actually going to post this today, but if you happen to be watching this and you are a mother, happy Mother's Day. Today I wanted to talk about three things. It's really one subject that I'm hoping that I can mold all together into a video that's less than 10 minutes. That is my goal today. I've had these web pages open on my phone for a while, and I've known that I wanted to say something about it simply because I've been raving, complaining, making statements about this for quite some time, and I think this is noteworthy news. Who is it going to affect? Whoever it is that decides to buy these particular devices. As you may know, the iPhone 15 is slated to get USB-C later this year. I've always been saying, hey, right now, the iPhone only operates at USB 2.0 speeds when plugging the lightning cable into the bottom of the phone. All I would like is USB 3. Let's say we get USB-C physically on the phone. Logically, let's get USB 3 standards so that way we can transfer large files relatively quickly. Don't need anything that's super groundbreaking. USB 2 came out in the year 2000. USB 3 came out in 2008, I believe. And there's different iterations of USB 3 that have eventually led us to what we now have, which is USB 4, Thunderbolt 4, things like that that allow for really, really high throughput. And I'm saying we don't need that on a phone. Just USB 3 and we'll be good to go. But according to this article on notebookcheck.net, maybe reputable, maybe not, the Apple 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max are rumored to gain 4K monitor support and Thunderbolt 3 support. That would be nice. I'm not going to complain about it. I can imagine somehow that might add to the price of the phone. And I know most people probably wouldn't care too much about it. I know if that is true, Apple's definitely going to hype it up during their Apple event later this fall. People, shooting videos and doing all types of stuff and then being able to transfer stuff super fast off the phone and hook up the phone to a 4K monitor, which is interesting because I think the Pro Display XDR is a 5K monitor. So I don't know what exactly would happen with that if that is true. The phone has 4K support, but then the monitor is 5K. Will that really matter? I don't know. Obviously, you could still plug it in and it'll look perfectly fine, I'm sure. I think that's pretty cool. I might even include a link to this particular article down in the description. Really not much text there, but I just said, hey, I've been complaining about something. It looks like something might get actually done about it. It's taken way too long for it to actually happen. Now, of course, what's going to happen with the regular iPhone 15s? Will they get USB 3? Will they stay at USB 2? I mean, that would be a huge slap in the face to an Apple customer, in my opinion, if that gap was that wide of USB 2 for you people who just want the regular phone and USB 4, well, let's say Thunderbolt 4 for people who are pro users. And at this point, it's like they're just phones, okay? I'd like to see a true professional say that, well, I'm going to use my phone to do something as opposed to a camera or my laptop, if we're talking about, having video on something and sending it to a 4K monitor. So Apple is Apple. Apple's going to do what Apple wants to do. I am really curious. I'm actually kind of anxious to see what happens. So that's the first part of this particular video. The next part is, as I just said, the iPhone is slated to get USB-C on the bottom of the phone instead of using the Lightning port. With that comes, and this is honestly the only thing that I'm super excited about when it comes to the iPhone getting USB-C, the fact that they're going to have to change this little guy, which they've already changed once, to a Lightning connector. They're going to start making their EarPods, so not AirPods, but their EarPods, so they're wired headphones with a USB-C connection on the bottom. I'm super excited about that. And that's all I really care about, because I doubt I'm going to actually buy the iPhone 15. So, according to this article on MacRumors.com, EarPods with USB-C said to be in mass production ahead of iPhone 15 launch. So that's it. Not really anything else to say in that particular article, but that will be a nice welcome change. I wonder how much Apple is going to charge for these new EarPods. I think The Lightning ones and the 3.5mm ones right now are still selling for around $20. So not super expensive, more expensive than what they should be given how old they are, but way less expensive than the cost of some EarPods or other Bluetooth headphones. So that's that. Now, last part of this, which I think this all makes sense, we talk about the iPhone 15 getting USB-C support. Then we talk about the wired headphones will now have a USB-C tip. The other article that I happened to just read yesterday, which was actually posted a few days ago, the title of it on Android Authority, so not Apple stuff, but earbuds are a reoccurring cost that you're not prepared for. I could not agree more. So throughout this article, this gentleman talks about several things. And let's see if I can summarize all this stuff. I got 4 minutes left. Earbuds can't fight science is the first thing that this person actually mentions. And that's talking about the battery life. So as you know, when you have something that is this small and requires electricity, there's a tiny little battery in it. And over time, you're constantly charging it, as when it's in this case, and it's decharging when I take it out and I'm using it. So that cycle is, really hard on these tiny little batteries. And eventually, or over time, the battery will no longer hold a charge the same way that it once did. So what does that mean? Battery life gets worse over time. Also, and he mentioned this, and this actually affected me as well, you might favor one of the earbuds more than the other. So for me, I constantly had the left one in my ear, and I can imagine that if I were able to actually test the not the battery life, but I guess the battery health, I would see that the left one is probably a little worse than the right one because I'm constantly using that one. So that's one thing to keep in mind when you do have these things. Batteries aren't meant to last forever. They're pretty small, and if you are not using them at the same time or in the same manner, one's going to have worse battery health than the other one. So that's something to keep in mind, that the battery life is not perfect. And as was noted, I think when AirPods really first came on the scene, I don't know if they were the first truly wireless ones, but definitely the first truly wireless mainstream ones, that the batteries are so small and the device themselves is so small, repairing it is next to impossible. So you can't just say, oh, the battery's dead and let me go ahead and throw it away, pop in a new battery and go on my merry way. No, it's just more advantageous for everybody to just sell you a pair, allow them to die or get worse over time, and then sell you another pair. The next little section he has down here is earbuds can't fight your bad luck either. Mainly just saying, because they're so small, even, hopefully you keep them in this case, but because they are so small, you're going to lose them. Okay, that's what's going to happen. You're going to lose them. I'm fortunate that I have not lost either one of these. It's either in my ear or it's in the case. I think there was one time I was walking around the house and I was like, oh no, before I do anything else, I need to go find the case and put it back in the case. In fact, I think I also might have been driving once and I don't know where the case was, but I think, hey, I'm going to carefully make sure it's in my pocket. But other than one or two situations, I really can't remember a time that I wasn't conscious about it's either in my ear or it's back in the case. So in the article, he talks about leaving it in a pocket, dropping it, a pet getting a hold of it, any type of water damage. Just so many things potentially could happen with these little guys that, you're bound to have some type of mistake or misfortune when it comes to something so small, so delicate, and relatively expensive. He also goes on to talk about warranties. For most things here in the U.S., I believe there's about a 1-year warranty or so, maybe a little bit shorter, maybe a little bit longer. And in the EU, he mentions that all of these products are required to have a 2-year warranty, but they also cost a little more. For him, he says, he'd be more comfortable paying a little more knowing that there's a 2-year warranty attached to his particular device. For people like myself who buy used things, which these were used, it's probably not the greatest idea to buy something used like this because all of the issues that happened before are now just being passed on to you as a secondhand customer. So when I bought these, I don't know how long the person before me used them. I don't think they'd been out for too long. I think they just really wanted to get rid of them. And for a while, they worked fine. And they still do. I just don't really use them anymore. And in the last little section that he mentions, which I think is kind of funny, he says he's convinced that earbuds are an annual subscription to hardware. which if you are the type of customer that these companies want you to be, that would be a completely true statement. He sees that for the most part, you're only going to get about 2 years out of these things. I got these at the end of 2020. And yeah, I think I stopped using them sometime in 2022. There's nothing wrong with them, but I can imagine, yeah, the overall performance probably has decreased a little bit. Because the batteries are so small, they're not going to last forever. They're so small. Again, because they're so small, you're probably going to lose them at some point. Because they're so small, they'll probably get damaged, whether it's like physical damage, crushed, sat on, eaten by a dog, water damage. So it's frustrating. And I think the whole point of me making this and trying to put all this together is for Android people who are fortunate enough to still have a headphone jack, then I, as you know, always recommend just get yourself a pair of wired headphones. These things, $20. It's harder to lose these. I know I mentioned that in another video. Some other reporter was talking about wanting the headphone jack back and missing it. And I'm like, well, it's not gone. You just have to find phones that actually still have them. So I've had these things for 6, maybe 7 years now. And in fact, a friend of mine just gave me hers a couple months ago now. But because she wasn't using them, because she has an iPhone, she doesn't have a need for them anymore. These are super cheap, hard to lose. If I do lose them, I can go buy another pair, $20. Not that big of a deal. Also, I do have a pair of USB-C headphones over there somewhere that are wired. Still hard to lose. I didn't like them because of the way they fit my ears, but it is what it is. And if the iPhone is slated to get USB-C, and you just want to find a pair of wired USB-C headphones, even if it's not the Apple ones, you have plenty of options. Oh, I'll say you have some options. I don't know if I'm going to say plenty, but the iPhone switching to USB-C, in my opinion, is definitely going to make more companies make that pivot as well. I am quite confident that is actually going to happen because there are plenty of people who still at this day like wired headphones, wired audio. The talking on the phone experience I feel is a little better. But if you want to stay using Bluetooth, there are other options besides these little guys. And I know these are super old, and I've talked about these plenty of times before, but these are the LG Tones. I got these back in 2016, I believe, and we are in 2023, so 7 years. All of the things, or I'll say some of the things, still apply as with something small like this. There is a battery in this, and I'm sure the battery life isn't as great as it once was. But because it's a larger battery, and there might even be 2 in here, I honestly don't know how this is set up on the inside, I've still gotten relatively good battery life over time with these. Because they aren't tiny little things, they aren't going to get lost in my pockets, or they're not going to fall out of my pockets. I think this has been an ingenious design with it just wrapping around your neck like that. When you're not using it, you just let it just hang here. When you are using it, pop one of these little guys in your ear, and you're good to go. I will say this though, because if you go to LG's website right now, they are still selling newer versions. Most of them don't have the greatest reviews. I haven't read any of them, and I'll say that for these particular ones, and probably other ones, when talking on the phone, they're not that great. The microphone is down here, and what I noticed when I talked to somebody else who also had a pair, like we're both on the phone, there's a lot of movement, if you're doing stuff, and this microphone picks up a lot of scratchiness when it's going across your chest like that, and that's bad for the person on the other end. And in fact, it sounds horrible when every movement causes some type of scratch. So if you're just sitting there doing nothing, it might be okay. So they need to redesign this form factor, maybe put the mic in this little portion, so when you pick it up, it's actually like this. I don't know. I mean, personally, I only use this when I'm working out now, so I don't need the mic. But LG also has pivoted to the truly wireless form factor on their website. You can see they have several models, and it looks like those have better ratings than these, so it is what it is. But hey, for those of you out there who might be interested in something else besides what these companies are just throwing at you, meaning the truly wireless experience, know that if you're an Android user, you already have plenty of options. Find yourself a pair of wired headphones or Bluetooth headphones that aren't truly wireless. Something around the neck might be something that you're looking for. If you're an iPhone user, you've had options for a while. There are headphones with lightning connectors on them. There are dongles you could use, but with the iPhone 15 slated to go to USB-C, there might be even more USB-C wired options. when you have a wired pair of headphones, everything that I mentioned in this article isn't an issue. Yes, you still could lose stuff, but it's harder to lose this. I know people do misplace things all the time, but I still think it's you can lose it. I feel like it's a little harder to lose it. There's no batteries, so you don't have to worry about that. And they're way less expensive. So please consider, or I'd say please be aware of the fact that you have options. You don't have to just have the Google Pixel Buds if you have a Google Pixel, the Samsung Galaxy Buds if you have a Galaxy, the AirPods if you have an iPhone, the One Plus Nothing or the One Plus Somethings or the Nothings or whatever. There are so many options out there for the truly wireless experience, but you don't have to do that. You can definitely do your own thing. So I'm going to stop. We're at 18 minutes. I know a lot of this is going to get cut down. I don't think I came in under my 10-minute mark.